So let's bring in former federal prosecutor and former lawyer with the DOJ National Security Division, Brendan Ballou, and former Virginia Representative Denver Riggleman. Welcome to you both. Brendan, curious your reaction to the president's social media post last night, calling out Pam Bondi to pursue some of his perceived political adversaries immediately. Can we still believe the DOJ is an independent agency?
Well, probably not, because the department, Donald Trump doesn't want it to be an independent agency. This is fabulous news, frankly, for the defense lawyers for Adam Schiff, Tish James, and James Comey. One of the things that defense lawyers want to bring is a charge of selective prosecution, the idea that their clients are being impermissibly singled out for prosecution. The challenge is typically showing intent, the government, showing that the government actually wants to discriminate against you. Here, Donald Trump just tweeted it out. And so it's going to make defense lawyers' work a whole lot easier.
So Denver, Trump's backed Pam Bondi through everything so far, and today said her position is not in question. But is she at risk of being replaced if she doesn't move fast enough on Trump's wishes, legal or not? I mean, is his patience wearing thin?
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened to Eric, Siebert right here in Virginia. And it's pretty interesting because I know Todd Gilbert pretty well, too. People forgot that Todd Gilbert had to resign also. So you had two Republican attorneys that were unceremoniously dumped because they wouldn't follow the wishes of Donald Trump. And I think the Eric firing / resignation, whatever it is, was a clear shot across the bow to Pam Bondi. I mean, when you have something this corrupt, and you have a president putting out a Truth Social thing like that. I mean, listen, I am not an attorney, so Brennan's going to have much better opinions on what's happening here. But I know what intimidation looks like. I know what bad government looks like, but I also know what graft and corruption looks like. And I think when you're identifying targets from the other party or people who just don't like you and you're telling your AG to go after them, I think it's one of the most egregious things I can remember seeing when it comes to somebody publicly saying they're going after enemies.
Okay, well, just so you know, Brendan was definitely nodding in agreement with you. But let me ask you now, Brendan, about the new reporting about the border czar Tom Homan being recorded accepting $50,000 from undercover FBI agents. They were posing as business executives. This was last year. Allegedly, he was promising to help companies win government contracts in the second Trump administration if he were to win the election. White House, FBI, DOJ have called this now closed investigation baseless, and Homan has not replied to MSNBC asking for his comment. What, though, is your reaction to the DOJ and the FBI dropping this investigation this year? Again, the event happened last year, just let's say it, prior to Donald Trump getting elected and put into office January 20th. This DOJ and FBI, they cite lack of evidence.
Yeah, this goes back to your point about the independence of the Department of Justice and suggests that it's losing it, by the minute. It's extremely concerning that this administration closed an investigation against Mr. Homan. Mr. Homan, you're never in a good place legally if you're accepting $50,000 in cash from an undercover FBI agent, whether or not he was ultimately going to be prosecuted. The concern that I've got is if the Department of Justice is not going to prosecute this kind of action, then who is? And I will note, for any state and local prosecutors that are watching right now, one thing that would be really interesting to discover is, did Tom Homan report that $50,000 on his state and local taxes? Because that potentially could be a crime that if DOJ isn't willing to go after, others can.
Interesting. Hadn't thought of that. So Denver, several Trump administration officials are involved in controversies so far this term. You have Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz out over the Signal chat leak, the FBI director and Attorney General for the Epstein files, questions about some cabinet members' mortgages, and now this. Where's the accountability in this administration? Could all this shake the MAGA base's confidence in Trump's various leaders?
No, because it's the deep state and globalist conspiracy theories that dominate their thinking. It's like they've had an injection of lies and propaganda into their frontal lobe that somehow is metastasized into believing anything that they hear. And when you think about Tom Homan, I mean, what a cheap little apparatchik he is. Only $50K. I mean, it was $600 billion, right, for Zuckerberg to go with Meta to make sure he got favorable treatment. And if you look at the inauguration funds, from the Bezoses and the Elon Musks, obviously, right? The payoffs that are a much higher, more public level. So it's pretty interesting in a administration full of criminals that Tom Homan could be easily bought for under $50,000. And when you look at the criminals, I think that Trump is probably wondering, man, if he's that cheap, can I trust him for the really big criminal endeavors? Maybe we need to kick him out. So maybe Homan will be filing Bondi because he's not quite a big enough spender for the rest of this administration.
Brendan, so sources who spoke with MSNBC said that investigators, they were waiting to see whether Homan actually delivered on his promises to obtain the $50,000 cash, again, by these undercover agents, or if when he got into a position within the administration. So is waiting for this kind of confirmation, is that unusual? I mean, could they have brought charges before he joined the second Trump term based on what they witnessed?
Well, here I'm essentially just reporting repeating what you guys did excellent reporting on at MSNBC. The challenge with bringing a bribery prosecution is he wasn't a public official at the time that he allegedly accepted the $50,000. Now, you could potentially bring a fraud or conspiracy case before he's in government. I can understand why, if you're in DOJ, you might want to wait for something like that, wait to see if he's in office, because that becomes a much clearer case of bribery. But that means that you're trusting the future administration to behave in a nonpartisan way. And obviously, that's not the case. And
to that point you brought up about the IRS, I mean, if he were to have accepted this money and made a deal, as he thought, with business executives, and he were to have reported it on his IRS filings, does that make it all kosher?
Potentially. I mean, it makes the tax problem potentially kosher, but it doesn't make the underlying bribery or graft kosher. And I'll just note, I was, right before we went on the air, I was looking at his financial disclosures that you put when you become a White House official. I did not see a line item for $50,000 there based on an initial skim.
Okay. I do want to stay with you, Brendan, and talk about the recent testimony around the Epstein Files saga. So listen to this exchange between Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell and the FBI Director Kash Patel. It happened last week.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the Attorney's file.
It's a simple question. Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple.
Who
did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No. A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
So obnoxious. And we will say that he never answered that question. He does say that he's never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files. But what do you make of his testimony? And given Trump's faith in Patel and Bondi and their obvious loyalty, could they have intentionally withheld sharing any information with Trump if his name was in the files?
Yeah, one of the things that's so unnerving watching this administration is how they engage in sort of mafioso type tactics, sometimes avoiding saying explicit things so that there's plausible deniability. You see this happening, for instance, in the negotiations with Ghislaine Maxwell, that, Trump's former personal attorney goes down to have an interview with her. And then a few weeks later, she's transferred to one of the best prison facilities in the United States. No explicit quid pro quo needs to be said for great results to happen for this administration. The only people that lose are the victims.
Denver, your quick reaction to Patel's testimony?
I mean, he's lying. I mean, I can have my opinion on that, but I think Kash Patel really got dragged pretty badly, because I don't know if you saw, Alex, what he just put out to use money to go after about every conspiracy theory surrounding Charlie Kirk's murder, which one of the most bizarre, I think, posts that I've seen in a long time from an FBI director that just came out. And I think that's what's bothersome, right? When you have people that are sycophants, or they value being loved by the president rather than following the rule of law, you see the kind of answers like that. And then sort of that infantile, not being able to answer a question, then doing the ABCs. I mean, it just shows how immature, unprofessional, and awful that individual is as a human being, but also as the FBI director, and can't be trusted in any way.
Okay, Brendan and Denver, thank you guys both so much.